Hey, this is Tilak. Welcome back to our fast formula tutorial. This is our third session on GSP tutorial, the second part of the person selection. By any chance, if you came to this tutorial direct, please look at the previous two GSP tutorial to have a better understanding of the GST fast formula. Okay, last time we looked at that. Let me bring that. Last time we looked at these two validation, the validation on the step and the validation on the probation period. Now we are going to look at the third part. That is basically excluding the people who are in ceiling step. Now what happens is when the person is in the ceiling step, then we don't allow him to do the process. So basically, indirectly we are telling he cannot change from grade 1 to grade 2 because every grade has got its own ceiling steps. So they might be doing it according to this logic. If you want to move from grade 1 to other grade, they're probably doing it in some manual way or some other way. This process stops them. That's the whole idea here. And I also explained there's a problem. In the last session, I also explained there's some complication here. The reason is, I'll tell you what are the DBA we are going to use it. We are going to use the per grade history ceiling step ID. Now that is we are getting it on a grade ID. Okay. Now what is happening there is there is no effective date here. So basically this is going to bring possibly all the grades. It is going to bring here. Even if you are looking at that, grade ceiling step ID, the type says here number and number. So it means it is a range or an array. So it is coming as an array. Now it became our responsibility to find the correct date. So, okay, the why we need to find a correct date? Because there's some update goes on a different date. If there is a more than one date in data exists for more than one date, there's a big possibility that the different date track might have a different ceiling. There's a possibility. So we have to find exactly the proper that whatever the date we want it, which is within our effective date. The date range has to fall within our effective date. Now further what we do. Now if you are looking at that, we are going to use the ceiling step ID and we are also going to use the start date and end date. Then we are going to use that start date, end date with our effective date, the context of effective date to find the right ID. Okay. There's one more thing. Here what we are going to use here is the step name. The step name. That is what we are going to use it here. Okay, the step name tells us the person's current position, which step name he is in. Unfortunately, there is no DBA that gives us the current step, the assignment's current step ID. So that is also became our responsibility to find it. How do we find it? We have a step name, we have a step sequence, we have a grade ID, but there's no step ID. Since we have a step name, what we can do here is we can find the step name from the ceiling step. Okay. Or we can find the step ID from the current person's current step ID. Okay. Either we can find I'll repeat that. Either we have to find the current step ID, so we can compare with the ceiling step ID, or we find the sealing step name to compare with the current step name. It is easier to find the sealing step name because when we are searching it, the step ID is a primary key. So it is easier to search that name from the ID rather than ID from the name. So we are going to find the current step ID. We are going to find the sealing step ID for the perfect date. According to the perfect date, we are going to find it. Then we are going to find the name for that, the sealing step ID. Then we are going to do the comparison. Okay, now how do I find the sealing step name? What I'm going to use here is I'm going to use I just make it a little smaller because since it is okay, I'm going to use that a little, make it a little bigger. That okay. Okay. I'm going to use the valuation payroll value set. Okay, the name I have given is GSP step name, and let me make it bigger. Let's see whether everything comes within the screen. Yeah, it's coming. That the name is GSP get step name. The description, whatever description I'm giving it, is a common payroll. That is also not a matter. You can give a common payroll process. It's not a matter. The table is per create steps VL. That is where the master of the steps. I'm going to get the name out of it. So I'm also telling the validation type is table because I'm going to get the information from the table. The data coming out is character. Value column name is name. This is what we are going to get it out. Okay, this is not, this is, okay, this is basically used for some kind of a lookup. So they need a display name as well as the ID. But in our case, what we are going to get is the ID. So this is what important for us. So we are going to get the name out of it. And this is a validation. It says grade step ID. That's a primary key of this one. That is going to validate with the step ID. And we are going to look at as of the system date. Okay, here also you can set a parameter. The effective date can be sent here as a parameter. It can be validated. Anyway, what we are looking here is not how to create a what's it called value set. So I'm just using the system date just for your information. If you want a perfect information, you have to pass a effective date and validate that. Okay. So we are okay. Let me go and show it in the screen itself. Then, like we will develop the fast formula. Okay. Let me close this part. Let me go here. I go to setup maintenance. Okay, I'm going here. I'm searching it. The search, I'm giving payroll value set. Got the payroll value set. GSP, I'm searching it. I got that. Edit. I'll repeat the information. The step name is the common variable process. It's a table. Validation type is table. Character. Then we are interested in the name. This is the table. And this is the validation. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, now I'm canceling this part. I will get into developing a fast formula. Done. Okay, I'm going here. My client group compensation. Okay, I'm going to the end. Common configuration is there. I'm looking for a fast formula. Okay, I'm going to create a GSP person selection. I say 2. Get that easier. C. I'm clicking C, so it goes to that C, compensation person selection. Okay. And as usual, I use that 112,000. I don't use the LDG, I mean legislative data group. I'm going continue. Okay, I give that okay name, type, purpose, skip the person who is already in ceiling strap. Okay, now okay, what are the div we wanted? Okay, I'm going to do a DBAs. Okay, default for, let me copy the DBA. Default for name is, I just give a space, one space, not that anything else. Now I'm going to use a different syntax, default data value for. Okay, whenever that DBA is a array, or say number, or say date number, or a I think string number, this is the syntax you have to use for that. Okay, because that is an array DBAs. Okay, let me take the, okay. Since it is that number, I'm giving it -1. Okay, let me copy this one and start date. So we are going to use a start date. Start date is minus, no, we can't use -1. Okay, 1990 01 01 00 00 00, and it is date. Okay, now like start date, we need a end date. Okay, we got the end date. Okay, I got the end date. Now we are done with the DBA. Now we go for a input value. Okay, we have only one input value. We are not using it. Still, I am like declaring it just for the understanding. Inputs are CMB, IV, grade, ladder, ID. Okay, number. Okay, inputs are CMB, IV, grade, ladder, ID. Okay, we got it. Now what we do first, data set log entering Okay, when we are doing a entering, we need a leaving, okay, or exiting, whichever. Leaving. Okay, I'm also going to use the return val as a variable. Okay, where do I got the ret val? I haven't got it yet. you are return require. Okay, I use the require as white. By default, I'm giving it white. So now I'm going to get the grade ID as a context. Okay, get the grade. Grade is what? Get context is grade ID. Since it's a number, it is going to be -1. Okay, and edate get context effective date. Since the date default, we need a default, so I'm just using this default. Okay. Okay. Now we got the edate. We got this one, return value is there. Now what we do, we write whatever information we have, we log it. Okay. Okay, I'm just copying that line number 18, that is the log. Okay, ladder. Ladder is where is the ladder? Okay, since it is a ID, I have to say 2k. 2k. Okay, so I log the ladder information. Okay, now what I do here, I'm going to log grade information. Say grade. So what is grade? I have it. I have the grade here. So that is also comes within the 2 character because it is a number. Then I'm going to get effective date. Effective date. Okay, edate is the one which is going to come out of it. Now I got the grade ladder. I got this one. I also can get a per grade step name. Person grade step name, I can get it. Okay. Okay, person grade step name. Okay. So that is person grade step name. Okay. Now I call the person grade step name. So whatever information we collected, we already logged it. Now we are going to find the ceiling ID. Find the ceiling ID of effective date. That's what we are going to do that. Okay, how do you find it? Let me get, because it is that this is what we are going to use this one. Let me get the current index. What is the first index of it? That's what we are going to do that. So I have a variable called index. Okay, let me, I hope it is visible. I can make a little bit bigger. Okay. Index is, what is the first index? Okay, either you can go also with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't believe in that. The reason is I always get the ID from that, the index from that array. So I do that. Okay, this is my style, but you can use yours. First -1. So in this case, it doesn't have an index. What I'm going to get is index will be -1. Okay. So in this case, if it is information is there, we'll get it. Now what I do here, while and I can say loop. Okay, loop a loop. Okay. While what? While the index exists. Okay, index. First time, if it is -1, it is going to come out of it. Yes, exist. It's I believe that's right. Index. Index. Okay. What is it? EXISTS. That's right. Exist. Okay. If it is exist loop. Okay. Now what I'm going to here is before I do a loop, I make sure I get the next one. Okay. So I'm copying the same thing. I'm going to do that. Okay. I'm going to say next of the current index. So in case it is not the -1. So after the end of the loop, it is the next one will be there. So it is going to return the -1, and when it goes to the while, the -1 is not exist, and it is going to come out of it. That's the whole idea. Okay, now what I do? Now I'm going to get the start date and end date. There's a two way I can use, either use that directly that DBA, I can put it into a variable start. Okay, st date. Say that would be the same index. Okay, when you are using this kind of a, like, looping through one DBA and using the other DBA, make sure they are coming from the same route. If they are coming from the same route, the index is not going to match it. Because if you are coming from the same route, it is a one select statement getting, it is like a select step ID, select start date, select end date from a table A. So basically all this has got the same index. If you are using a DBA from a different index, different routes, so the index is not going to match, then you will be in trouble. End date. Okay. So that is going to be end date of the same index. Okay, index. Now I got that. I'm going to log the okay. Okay. What is that? Ceiling dates. Dates. Okay. So I'm writing it into one line, you can write it into two lines, it's up to you. End date. So I logged the start date and end date. Now I got the start date and end date, now I have to validate. How do I validate? The validation is basically the effective date, that is the E date between the start date and end date. So how do I put that? That's a very simple way of putting that is if E date is greater than or equal to start date and E date is less than or equal to end date. So basically it says it has to be within the start date and end date. Then what we are going to get it? we are going to get the L step ID. Okay. Now L step ID. Okay. Now L step ID of L step ID index. Okay, we got the step ID. That is okay. Once I found the step ID, then there's no point of me going through that loop again. So I'm coming out. So in case if there is a future data act information is there, I don't have to look for that. We already found the record I wanted. There's no point of going through this loop again. So I'm coming out of it. The only one mistake, not a mistake, I haven't done that is I should have initialized this somewhere else before the loop because we are going to use it after the loop. So, and in case if it doesn't go within the loop, then the variable is not never be initialized. So I'm initializing with -1. Okay. Now I'm exiting it. So exiting from this loop. Okay. Sorry. Exiting from this loop. Okay. So this is that while loop. Okay. Now, if you want, you can put end of loop. So you know that is end of loop. Okay. Now what do I do? Now I got the step ID. Now I have to get the name. Okay. If else step ID is not -1. Okay. So if it is -1, there's no point of doing it here. Okay. Else step ID not equal to -1. Okay. There's a more validation I can do that. Basically, I can also validate that if it is that, what do you call it? The step name is also there. Assume it is there. Okay, in case if a person is not having it, you can validate like if it is, okay, you can do that if you also want. Okay, say that and was not defaulted. That kind of validation you can have it. Okay, but it's up to you. I'm not going to do that, but in case you want to have a kind of a defensive way of coding it, there's nothing wrong validating it. I just go with this part. Then okay. Now step ID is not validated. Now what are we going to do? Now I have to call the value set. Okay. I use certain style of working that you don't have to follow that. What I do is I create a parameter. Okay, in case you have to send the parameter, create a parameter in the variable, then I print the variable, then I use the variable. But instead of that, you can call that. I'll show it. It is up to you. You decide what is better for you. Okay, I always says L param. Okay, this is we have to always, this is the way you have to do that. This is that delimiter, whatever you are using it. Delimiter is equal to that this one. Then you say what the parameter you go for is step ID is okay. In case we are using a number, so I'm just doing a L step ID. So since I'm adding that, I put into a toChar. Okay, that's all I do. Char, toChar, L step ID. Okay. Okay, now I'm also going to log that part. Okay. Here also I can say what is the L step ID, right? I can just put the log here too. L data. Say that step ID. I know what the step ID got it. Step ID. Sorry for going back. Step ID is L step ID. Got the step ID. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is Okay, okay, that is fine. Now I got the parameter. I'm going to print the parameter. Okay, so I know what kind of parameter I'm passing it. That helps me to, if there is anything wrong, I know that, like what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so now I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a else step name get value set. What is the value set? It is GSP get step name. GSP get step name. That is what I think it is. Para. Okay. Now the other way what you can do here is you can just take this part and put it here. You don't have to do the L parameter. Normally I do that because that helps me to print it. So I know what I'm passing it. It is my way of doing it. It is up to you. You can do that. Now, if I got the step name, then I'm going to print the step name. Okay. Here I change this arrow. I'm going to get ceiling step name. Ceiling step name is L step name. Okay. Now I got the ceiling step name. Okay. In case, okay, now I know that from the log itself, this is the person step name. Okay, this is wrong here. It should not be a toChar. So I made a mistake here. Is a character because this is what happens when you copy and paste to that. Okay. Now this is a person create step name. Now I got the ceiling step name. If these are the same, then that formula should return false. If person step name equal to L step name. Okay, if these two are the same, then you say that lit val is, where is my lit val? Okay, why lit val is here, I don't know. It's supposed to be here. Okay, it's supposed to be there. Okay, return value is false. That is n. Okay, now after that we are returning it. Let me go to the code one more time. You have all your TBIs you declare. Input variable you are not going to use it, so it doesn't matter whether you have it or not. I'm getting my percent, logging entering. I'm getting the context of the grade ID and the effective date. Getting the context of it. In case, okay, the step then I'm writing whatever information we have it. I'm writing it. Then we are going through the loop of that the step ID to find the step of the date. So we are getting the effect start date, we are getting the effective end date from the loop. If the date is start date, end date falls within the e date, I mean the effective date, then you are getting the step ID. Okay. So in case if you are getting the step ID, once you get the step ID, you are coming out. And if the step ID is not -1, so you found the step ID. In this, if the step ID is not equal to -1, then you are basically calling that get value set. Get value set. What is the pattern? Sorry, I changed the name here. I thought I put the proper name. Okay, I don't know. Okay, I'm putting it again. GSP step name, that is that get value set. I'm passing the parameter as a second parameter. I mean, whatever the validation parameter, I'm passing it as this one is passing second parameter. Then I got the step name. I'm writing the step name. If the step name is same as a person's current step, then I'm telling that return false. That's it. Okay. I'm saving it, submitting it, compiling it. Compilation may take a little time. Okay, I got the error. Let's see what is the error it is. It is telling per grade history ceiling step ID. Per GRD grade history step must have a default statement ID. Let's see what is happening. Okay. That's it. Default data value. Okay, let me go. Let's see. Okay. Let me look here. What is the data bit item says here? The index. That is right. So what I'm doing here is the number value and number index array. That is right. So let's say I'm taking this into the end. It is doing something wrong here. Okay. So the problem is this is the problem. Sorry, this is the problem because that this is not there's a space. That's what causing the issue. I'm sorry about that. So we are going to have a problem here too. 13, line number 13. Okay. Yeah, there's a space here. GSP person selection to empty string not allowed. Okay. Okay, correct. I put a space. Okay, that is I'm putting it here. One space here. I'm right taking that to here. That is fine. This is also fine. Okay. Save. Save. Compile. Why? Okay, sometimes it happens. You don't get the error, but it fails. Now you go to that, go out, come back, it looks fine. Okay, now I'm searching it here. I get a green here. So perfectly fine. So this is working. Now we are going to validate this part. Okay. Now let's get back to the same ladder and we'll run the same ladder. What we did in the last session. That is, this is the one. I chose the latest formula, GSP person selection tree. This is okay in our case. Submitting it. 595 97595. Let me have a look at that. Let me look at the log. Okay. Okay. Now let's see what happened. Validations. We'll go to that. Okay. Entering the selection. Got the ladder. We got the grade ID. We got the effective date. Now the person grade step name is 1A. That's what. Okay. Now the sealing date is basically it is starting from 1951 to 2021. Then it is changed. Okay, this is not falling within that 25/9. Okay, then the second date track date is 0162. I mean, uh, the 6012 to 912. That is also not falling because that is 25, like now, September 25. Now, this is the last date track, that is 13th of September to end of the time. So that is what we are following that. Okay. In on that date, what we are getting, that the ceiling ID is, this is the ceiling ID we are getting it. Okay. So we got the ceiling ID. Now we are going for this is the parameter. This is the parameter passed as the step ID. If you are looking at that my previous screen, that we are using the parameter as a step ID over there. Okay. Do I have a screenshot? Show you. Let me have a look. You see that I'm using the parameter name as a step ID. That is what I'm going to use it here. Step ID is going as this one. Parameter is going inside. Now what I'm getting, the step name is 4. Okay, the step name says it is 4. The ceiling step name is 4. So the 1A is not matching with 4. So we haven't reached that 4 yet. Okay. So that whatever returning is true because the formula is going fine. And then it says person selected fine, then whatever happens, that according to the setup, whatever calculation happens. So this formula is working the way we want it. Okay. So that's it for today. By this we are completing the person selection formula tutorial, person selection formula for GSP tutorial. If you have any question, any comments, or any questions, doubts, you can post it in the comment section. If you like my work, like the video. Until I see you with a next tutorial. Thank you. Bye.